So I went back home, I got the charger, I returned about 3 days later with the charger. I dropped it off about 3 weeks.
Does this sound familiar?
No, it's just so long ago, it's kind of hard to...
Okay, well, that's why I'm surprised that you remember stuff, because it is a long time ago. Go ahead.
These are the plaintiffs, Redolin and Destiny Nova Beasley King. Redolin says she dropped her daughter's laptop off at the defendant's repair shop because it wasn't charging properly. And after getting the royal runaround for 6 months, he finally admitted to losing it. That's right. Her daughter had precious photos on that laptop. This man should not be in business because he's as careless as they come. And they're here suing him for the $2,500 they're now out. This is the defendant, Gary Owen. He says the plaintiff's computer system was corrupted, and he called the plaintiffs to tell them it wasn't reparable. The plaintiffs abandoned the laptop in his shop for months. They never called him once, and he simply recycled it. He figured the plaintiffs didn't want the computer because 6 months went by, and he owes them nothing for the old piece of junk. He's accused of not computing. The defendant has filed a countersuit for $525 for unpaid labor and services.
All parties, please raise your right hand.
What you are about to witness is real. The participants are not actors. They are actual litigants with a case pending in civil court. Both parties have agreed to drop their claims and have their cases settled here before Judge Marilyn Milian in our forum, the People's Court.
Seated, come to order, please. Litigants have been sworn, Your Honor.
Thank you, Douglas.
You're welcome, ma'am.
All right, so you had a computer that was how old?
About a year old.
And was it your computer?
Yes.
All right, and what was wrong with it that you brought it in?
Essentially just wasn't powering up fully. It would turn on and the backlight would come on, but it wouldn't change screens so that I could sign into it.
Okay, was it a PC?
Yes.
All right, so you brought it into his place.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And what brand was it?
HP.
HP?
Yes.
All right. And how much had you paid for it?
About $225.
Do you have the receipt for it?
Yes, I do.
May I see it?
Yes.
So when did you bring it into his place?
On February 15th of 2019.
Okay. What was the agreement between you and him about what they would do and how much they would charge you?
Well, there was no set agreement on price. We hadn't discussed a price. The information on the computer was valuable, so I was willing to pay whatever the price was.
What if the price was $1 million? I mean, there's absolutely no agreement on, listen, for us to look at it, it costs $100 bucks. Nothing? Absolutely nothing? Is that how you do business?
Well, information is only as valuable as the...
I'm sorry, is that how you do business? Do you quote a price to look into the issue?
No, not until it's done.
Okay. And when it's done, how do you know they're going to pay the price?
Well, we didn't know whether, to begin with, whether it was recoverable or not.
If it's not recoverable, you just give it back to them?
Right.
Okay, you don't charge them?
Right, we can't charge them if it's not recoverable.
Okay, now, so she leaves her computer. Do you actually have a specific recollection of this computer?
Yes.
Why?
Because when it came in, I gave it to the tech. The tech took it with him and was recovering the information, or trying to recover the information, and then he brought it back to the store.
Okay, and what did he tell you?
Well, he spent about 4 to 5 days just in computer time, not him having to do any physical work.
No, he sets it and then he can walk away.
Exactly.
Right.
He spent about 10.5 hours of actual hands-on work on her computer, found out that her information was not recoverable with the equipment that we possess.
Now, with more specialized equipment, it might be.
Yes, exactly.
All right, do you have her hard drive?
Yes, I do.
What is your policy? Once you figure out that you can't fix something, then what do you do?
Well, when we can't fix something, we call the customer up and tell them that, and they can come and pick up their computer or...
According to you, did you call her and tell her that?
Oh, yes, I have.
Let me see that. So when you call her and tell her that, what happens? Do you make contact with them?
I think I left it on her machine, left message.
Whose machine?
Her machine.
That's mom. All right. Did you ever get a message?
No, I didn't.
All right, so according to you, your story is very different.
Yes.
According to you, you drop it off in February of 2019, and you are a mail carrier?
Yes, I'm a mail carrier, and I used to carry mail in that area. And my daughters both went to school in that area. Okay, so you went, now were you in that area? Were you no longer carrying mail in that area? I'm no longer carrying mail in that area. All right, so during 2019, according to you, you would make a trip to go over there and check on things? Why wouldn't you just call? Because I'm more of a hands-on person. I'm a shop steward for the union, and it's just, I like to do business face-to-face. I like to walk in and talk to people. So you went face-to-face, and what happened? The first time I went in, it was about 3 weeks later. Well, let me back up. I dropped it off on February 15th. The defendant said that he could not work on it without a charger. So I went back home, I got the charger, I returned about 3 days later with the charger. I dropped it off about 3 weeks. Does this sound familiar?
No, it's just so long ago, it's kind of hard to remember.
Okay, well, that's why I'm surprised that you remember stuff, because it is a long time ago. Go ahead. And then about maybe 3 weeks later, I hadn't heard from him, so I stopped in. I said, hey, I'm just checking on things. He said, we're still working on it, but no need to come back. We'll call you when it's ready. So maybe I go back home, maybe another 2 weeks goes by. I go back in again. He said, hey, still not ready. I said, okay. He did work prior for us in the past, and as a matter of fact, most of the information on this computer came from the last computer that he retrieved. So I went back home. A week later, beginning of April, end of March, my daughter came home for spring break, and she says, you know, Mom, what's going on? I said, well, I went up there last week. I said, but hey, you're home. You're welcome to check on it. I had to go out of town for business. So did you go check on it?
Yeah.
What happened?
He wasn't there. Was another worker there, and I asked him about it, and he went to the back because he wasn't sure what I was talking about. And then he said that, you know, he asked me like what kind of computer it was, like the name that, you know, it was sent, and I gave my mom's name and my name. And he said he didn't see it, so I would just have to come back because he didn't know what I was talking about.
Okay. So did you?
No, because I had to go back to school.
So
but
she went back. Yeah. Or you went back?
Yeah. I went back. Maybe 3 weeks after that, I went back again. He said, hey, let us try one more thing. There's one more thing we haven't tried. Let us try, and we'll give you a call. Well, another 2 or 3 weeks passes. I actually called that time, and he said, hey, you know what? Can't find it. Don't know where it is. Think I recycled it. I don't know. What do you want me to do? I'm like, what do you mean, what do I want you to do? Did he ever say at that point, I called you and you abandoned it? Never. You've never come back for it? Well, he said, oh, you dropped it off in February and you didn't come back. And I said, what are you talking about, sir? I've seen you every, 2 weeks for the past 3 or 4 months. And he was like, well, what do you want me to do? I don't know what you want me to do. Okay, so then what did you want him to do? I wanted the laptop back. Right, but you're suing for $2,500, right, and what you gave him was a broken laptop. So right. I'm trying to figure out how you come up with $2,500. Well, the laptop itself is they no longer make that model. The model. So what, it gets more valuable? No, well, the model that replaces it. Well, if you paid $200 and something, why on earth, and it was a used laptop. Yes. And it was broken. Everything I just said decreases the value of it. And yet you're suing for double what you paid for it. Because of the photos and the information that were on there. No, you're suing separately for the photos. You're suing for $500 for the computer and the adapter. You're suing for $1,750 for irreplaceable photos. Yes. Apparently they can be replaced for $1,750. That's their value or whatever. And $250 for travel expenses back and forth for going there. Let me ask you a question. You don't walk around with your laptop taking pictures, right? You take them with your phone. Mm-hmm. Right. So how is it then that there are irreplaceable pictures in the laptop? Because you get a new phone, phones break, but I always save my photos to the computer, so I always thought I would have the backup. And you don't back them up on a cloud? I guess I didn't think of it because I always had the computer. And you don't have, and with the computer, you don't have, what do you call that, external hard drive to save things? Didn't you watch Sex and the City back 20 years ago? I've definitely never seen Sex and the City. Okay. I mean, that's the first time I learned, oh yeah, that's what I needed, an external hard drive so I don't lose my entire computer. But I mean, kind of in this day and age, how old are you? 23. Okay. The idea that a 23-year-old doesn't have a backup of pictures is kind of unforgivable.
Welcome back to the People's Court. Harvey Levin here. So if you had a laptop that didn't charge properly, would you repair it or would you just buy a new one?
I bought a new laptop like 2 weeks ago because mine wasn't charging and it didn't have.
Oh, you're kidding!
So
you chose not.
New one, yeah.
How much was the new one?
It was the cheapest MacBook Air you can get, so like $1,000.
How much would it cost to repair, do you think?
I didn't ask.
What do you say? Would you repair or would you just buy a new one?
Just buy a new one. Just easier.
Why?
Just easier. Saves time.
Wow, you must be rolling in it, man. Going inside the courtroom.
First of all, in the law, there's no value placed on the irreplaceability of your photos. I know how I would feel. I have 50,000 photos on my hard drive, and my computer crashed once. And one time I brought it to a guy, and I said to him, I will kill myself if you cannot get these photos. So I get that. But the fact that I had not had an external, the first thing he looked at me and goes, you didn't have an external hard drive going to back up your stuff? And I'm like, what's an external hard? And then I remembered from Sex and the City from years earlier. And I knew that I was irresponsible, but I also did have a bunch of it because I am Apple. So a bunch of it was already on the cloud and stuff. But there comes a time in technology, particularly for a 23-year-old, that, the concept that you took your pictures and have no other way to retrieve them is just nonsense. You're putting them on social media, you're putting them on Facebook, you probably never even heard of Facebook either. You're putting them on Instagram, you're putting them on, they're all over the place. So the idea that they're gonna pay you $2,500 for losing your broken one-year-old computer is nonsense. Now let's talk about what it is. You have well, by the way, let's also laugh first about the counterclaim. You have a counterclaim against them for $525 after you have just now told me under oath that when you can't fix a computer, you charge $0.
Right. Well, since they're suing me, okay, I want to sue them back for the time we spent.
Just it feels good? Not because you're right?
Because we spent a lot of time on over 10.5 hours plus.
Why would I ever make them pay you for not fixing it?
Well, I think I deserve it.
Except for your policy, because you've already told me, I asked you that at the beginning of the case, is that you never charge a customer if you can't fix it.
We didn't charge her for it.
Okay, yeah, no on your counterclaim. And now let's talk about what actually happened, because I think what you think happened, you have their hard drive, their actual hard drive you have. So that, those pictures that we're talking about are in the hard drive. If you take it and, you got to decide what it's worth to you. If you take it to somebody with more sophisticated equipment, they may be able to get them. So please take the hard drive from him and give it to them.
Yeah.
What's the value of the outside part of that computer?
The outside part of which?
Yeah, the part that got recycled.
Less than $50.
All right, so what is the value of the outside of that? It's nothing. You know it's nothing. I mean, you've got the hard drive. That's the important part. If it's corrupted and it can't be fixed, that's not something that they did, okay? So I am going to order him to pay you $50, although I know that you would have just thrown out the outside just because I feel like it's the right thing to do given all the trouble that you went through. But I'm certainly not going to order him to pay you $2,500. Verdict for the plaintiff, $50 on your counterclaim, $0.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So the plaintiffs prevailed, but they only get a tiny portion of what they were seeking. Mr. Nolan, if you'll turn around so we can see you.
Okay.
Okay. Have you ever been sued like this before?
Actually, once before we had a mix-up on systems.
Okay. Well, you got to be more careful. But anyway, what do you think the possibility of their recovering those pictures is?
I think there's a good possibility. They're just going to have to pay.
Cost money?
Yeah, big bucks.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, cost you $50. Plaintiffs are on their way out of the courtroom now. Well, look, you were suing for $2,500. You get $50. It's a big difference.
It's a big difference, but we're happy. My daughter has her hard drive back. Hopefully we can recover the information.
Do you think you will explore that?
Yes, definitely. It's worth it just to even a chance to get some of these pictures back.
That's the only chance we have, so we'll take it.
Good luck to you.
Thank you so much.
And you got a lesson in computerology from the judge.
Yes.
You did. Okay, thank you. Harvey?
Okay, Doug, look, if they go to a new repair person to retrieve the photos, they need to be completely transparent. Tell the repairman what's wrong with what was wrong before and what was done to try and fix it. You are partners with the repair person. And that will do it for this case. Litigants for the next case on the way into the courtroom right now.
This is the plaintiff, Jocelyn Graham. She says she and the defendant used to date, and one day he hit her up with an investment opportunity. They bought a dog together. He was going to breed it, and she would be responsible for selling the pups. Well, the louse got jealous of the new guy she was dating. He refused to let her see the dog he purchased. He refuses to return the money she gave him, and she refuses to allow him to get away with not paying her the $3,000 he owes. So she's suing. This is the defendant, David Velicchio III. He says the plaintiff wanted to be in on the dog deal because it would help her get closer to him again. He wasn't interested in rekindling the romance with her, however. She got mad, demanded her money back, and now here they are. Bottom line, they had a business arrangement, the plaintiff backed out, and now she's out of luck because he owes her nothing. He's accused of pooping out on a puppy. The defendant has filed a countersuit for $3,000 for wasted time and inconvenience.
All parties, please raise your right hands.
Welcome back to the People's Court. Next case on the docket. These litigants used to date, and the defendant suggested an investment. Buy a dog, breed it, and sell the pups. When she started dating someone else, he turned evil. Now, the defendant says she was pining after him, but he wasn't interested. It's the case of this dog don't hunt.
Thank you, Douglas.
You're welcome, ma'am.
Okay. So how do you two know each other?
We had like a previous friendship prior to this business arrangement.
Okay,
so we were
in
cordial.
a relationship or?
We like briefly dated, but it wasn't anything serious.
Okay.
I'd call it more of a friendship.
And how long, well, with benefits, right? That's, I mean, I'm trying to figure out what the, okay.
At some point, yes.
So how long before the business arrangement was that?
The business arrangement was at the end of November. The last time I saw him was like June.
Okay. So had you talked to each other between June and November?
Not much.
All right. So then who proposes the business arrangement?
He did.
You hear from him out of the blue?
No, we did reconnect and we talked for a couple days. It was probably like 2 or 3 days. And then, yes, he dropped this proposition for
okay, and in those 2 or 3 days that you reconnected, did you reconnect or were you just talking? All right.
No.
And then what happened?
So on November 27th.
So the proposition is what? He tells you?
Well, it first started, he texted me Wednesday, November 27th. If you want to make some money, let me know. I didn't really respond right away
I'd be insulted. Okay, go on.
Well, he made sure he specified not for sex.
Okay.
So I said, well, details. And then the next day, so yeah, he went on the details of the dogs. I've never bred dogs before, so it was very foreign to me. But he said, it's all you really have to do is advertise the dogs. Like, you know, a lot of people, you are a girl. Girls tend to be able to sell dogs. So really, this is a win-win for you.
Okay. And so the idea was that you were going to invest how much?
$1,500. He also told me that he did have somebody that he was friends with that had backed out kind of this business arrangement kind of last minute. So
this is to buy a particular dog?
Correct. For breeding.
Right. For breeding.
Yes.
Now, is the dog a boy dog or a girl dog?
It's a girl dog.
All right. So now, do you have other dogs that you were planning on mating with this dog?
Yes.
Your own dogs?
Yes.
Okay. Is he a breeder?
He has bred dogs before, correct.
Okay, and what kind of dogs are we talking about?
XL American Pit Bulls, big dogs.
Pit Bulls? Okay.
Yes.
And so, have you ever had a Pit Bull?
No, I have poodles.
Okay. Yeah, it's a little bit of a difference.
Yeah, very different.
All right, so you decide you're gonna, I got $1,500 burning a hole in my pocket. So how do you convey the $1,500 to him?
So I cash apped it to him.
All right.
There was a lot of conversation in between that because kind of I did mention in texting like I don't know much about breeding.
Yeah, why are you investing?
Right. So he like basically proposed really what I had to do, which was really only.
Is all that in the text between the two of you?
Yes.
Do you have it in your phone?
I do.
Let me see it in your phone. So what is your understanding of what the arrangement is?
The arrangement was because of a friend backed out last minute. I needed the $1,500 because I had to get the dog by a certain time. So
what was the purchase price for the dog?
$3,700.
Okay, so you were putting in the rest, or was there a third partner?
No, I put in the rest.
Okay, so there was a certain amount of time, or else what?
I was basically out of the money.
Out
of the money that I sent.
Because you had put a deposit on it?
Yes.
Okay, so you really need that other money to go ahead and pay the rest of this?
Yes.
Okay. Now, did you also ask her for fuel money because you had to travel to Mississippi, did you, to get the dog?
Yes, and she paid half of that.
So that was another $260. So all in, she's in for $1,760, right?
Yes.
All right, and when did you make the purchase?
It was a Friday. I went out there and I bought the dog. I don't remember the exact date.
I have the date. December 6th.
So out of the blue, he just reaches out to you and sends a picture of, is this a picture of him when he was young? Is that what it is?
I don't know. There was, no, that's
a
not
meme. That's a meme.
That's a, I don't know
that's
what
just a
that is.
meme.
It is.
Yeah, it was out of the blue. Yes.
You guys go back and forth. It's not that serious, he tells you. I told you come over tomorrow, and you don't want to. I told you add me on Snapchat, you don't want to, but yet you're still arguing with me. You just said you weren't going to be arguing, and there you go. And then you say, I'm gonna come and blank you up. And he says, I fight naked.
It was very friendly initially.
That's not friendly, that's kind of flirty.
Well, yeah. That was our demeanor initially, yes.
And then he texts you, I can't even. An eggplant, a peach, and you tell him, I told you I'll see you tomorrow. Mm-hmm. And then he, in what can only be heralded as one of the most romantic texts in response to that I've ever seen, we blanking? He actually uses the word.
Yeah.
To which you ask, are you drunk? So bizarre. If you want to make some money, let me know.
Right. That's
not for sex. Why would you not walk, but run to the nearest exit? Like, why are you at this point, offer ends Friday morning? Mm-hmm. He's the guy who's desperate for the money. What is this offer ends Friday morning? Details.
Yeah, then he goes.
With the dogs, blah, blah, blah. And he sends a picture of the dog, yada, yada. Then you ask her to help you name the dog. And then you say, all right, I'll call you at 11 tomorrow. He says, all right, I'll be up. And you say, I may still want, and then you put a picture of an eggplant.
Yeah.
And he says, no. You say, whack. He says, should have come over today.
Yeah.
You say, there should be an expiration on, and then you have a picture of an eggplant. Uh-huh. I presume you mean there shouldn't be an expiration.
Yeah.
Such a perfect business environment for the two of you to go into it.
I mean, we did eventually have a conversation where it was addressed, where we were getting.
Jesus.
Yeah, it gets better. It gets better.
You could have warned a woman.
It goes both ways.
I'd love for him to show you where I text him pictures of me.
I got them.
How? Yeah, I'm still reeling. And you write, not my kind of party. What about Khaleesi for the pup?
Yeah, we were still talking about names at that point as well, discussing names.
You did watch to the very end, didn't you?
Yes, I was not that happy.
I've never been so mad in my entire life.
I was disappointed
ever about anything as I was about the ending of Game of Thrones.
Yes.
All right, so she comes back. I mean, you come back. You've got the dog. Mm-hmm. And then you ask the following question. With the dog living with you and in your possession, are you willing to make me the primary owner on its papers? He says, I am putting up more money and you don't know anything about dogs or breeding. How does that even make sense? I'm not asking to split the profit. We already determined I was invested 40%. It's just to protect my rights as an owner. It's insurance because ultimately I'm trusting your word.
Mm-hmm. Right, because the dog was going to be in his possession. I mean, he did offer, I don't know if you got to that point yet. On Friday, 11/29, he asked me if I wanted to move in.
Move in?
Yeah, and I declined.
Boy, you know, she tells you she's at PT, and then you make some vile joke.
Yeah.
Right. What is it you're trying to get out of this arrangement?
Out of the arrangement, I was just getting the money from the dog.
I mean, what is it you're trying to do with a business partner? You're just nonstop, you know, back and forth with the sexual banter.
Well, because it was nonstop videos and pictures through Snapchat on her part.
Okay, are you going to be able to prove that?
I can prove pictures, yeah.
Okay. Because her language in response to it doesn't sound like...
That was after I got the dog already.
And, Your Honor, he's also speaking of pictures from prior when we did have relations together. It wasn't... So those are pictures...
There's dates on them.
Those are pictures he saved to his phone.
I'm sure there's dates from when I screenshotted them.
But you can screenshot a picture that's pending
anywhere.
You
can change a date.
Exactly. That's why I kept
Everybody
texting.
Stop. On December 9th, she texts you, what time can I see the puppy? You say, not sure of my schedule. Why? What's up? She says, what do you mean why? because I want to see the dog in person. You say, my windows are short with work and everything else. I'll know more Wednesday afternoon. To which you respond, there's no reason for me to see the dog? And he says, not really, no. What's the reason to be invested $1,760 then, she asks. And you say, you didn't invest in a pet. So what's the money for then? Why is this happening? Like she's not allowed, she invests money in an animal and she's not allowed to see the animal? Is that your suggestion?
No,
That's too big a request for her to see the animal?
No, she was allowed to see the animal, but
she never saw the animal,
during
did
the
she?
phone call, she was trying to see the animal to see me, and I wasn't home at the time.
Really? Because that's not how this reads, I gotta tell you.
Well, there was phone calls. That was my idea of her even going into that.
It's literally, she wants to see her investment. Why is that so unreasonable?
It wasn't. It just, I wasn't going to be home. I wasn't sure if I was going to be home. And then she got mad because I couldn't give her an answer like a few days before. Like at my job, I'm on call a lot of times. So I don't know until the day before.
Do you want to move in here or not? Be able to be around the dog more? Not sure if you care about that or not, though. It doesn't matter either way. Oh, so you were fine 6 days earlier with her being around the dog. And then all of a sudden you tell your investor you don't get to see the dog. You're suing him for pain and suffering. Why?
Okay, good idea, bad idea to go into business with somebody you're dating.
I mean, I think it's a great idea.
Why?
Just because if you can't make a relationship work, then you can't make a business work, and other way around.
Fair point. What's the counter to that point?
It's a bad idea. Don't keep personal and your...
Why?
I think it just meddles into the wrong way.
Sir?
I think it depends how long you've been dating, but I think it could be a bad idea, might be complicated.
Maybe like 100 years you get to know the person.
Maybe like 110.
Okay, going inside the courtroom.
In the midst of this, I was in treatment for breast cancer. I was actively every day going for radiation. I actually have a text message of him saying, I don't care about your treatment.
And you're having daily radiation treatment.
Yes, I
Can I ask you something? Why did you invest in a dog in the middle of all that?
Because I felt like it was a good way to get a nice amount of money and, I mean, be able to take care of a few things. I was just kind of setting something up.
But then why are you suing for pain and suffering? Because you decided that in the middle of radiation, it was a good idea to go into a business that didn't work out. This is an investment. He's right about that. This is an investment. However, she's right that I don't understand why it is that you say to her, you're not going to see the dog just because you're being petty about the sexual stuff that you keep trying to raise that, you know, didn't seem to be going anywhere. I read her text and I read your text. Her texts are all trying to be professional and your texts are all being kind of a baby and bringing sexual stuff into it all the time. So, you know, at some point, doesn't your business partner, who's just told that they don't even have a right to see the business they invest in, why wouldn't she have a right to step back and say, just a second.
Well, I also
You're breaching the contract by telling me I can't even see my investment because it's not a pet.
Well, no, there was never anything in any messages about her having to be able to see the dog or anything like that. It was just her collecting the money.
Okay, there is never anything that she couldn't. And the normal thing, if I invest in a dog, is I can see it. This is her effort to actually see the thing she's invested. Well, you did. Your text to her was, there's nothing here about you being able to come. It's not your pet. And you can't cuddle, and you can't, all because you're being a baby because she didn't come over the day before and satisfy you sexually. Do you understand where you went wrong there? Now you have a counterclaim against her for wasted time and inconvenience. Are you referring to the several hours you thought she was going to come over?
No.
What are you referring to?
To coming here, I'm referring to just her nonsense.
What, you would have lost your entire deposit if it wasn't for her. How is it that she wasted your time and inconvenienced you? I'll tell you how. She didn't. So on your counterclaim against her for $3,000, 0. And on her claim against you, you're not getting pain and suffering. Okay? You made the choice in the middle of your treatment that you wanted to get into this, so I assume you have the stamina to get into what goes wrong on business deals. Okay? But I am going to order you to return the $1,760 that she invested, because I find that telling an investor you're not allowed to see your investment because you're mad that you didn't get sex is a breach of the contract. So she gets that money back, $1,760, verdict for the plaintiff.
Well, the judge has determined the defendant's going to have to give that $1,760 back. What do you think?
That's all right. I was going to give it back anyway. She just wanted it that day, not when I was going to give it to her. So,
What, you weren't ready to give it to her when she wanted it?
no.
You let her sue you?
Yeah.
But that's the way it goes?
That's
Got to
how-
sue
that's-
you to get it back?
That's how it happens. You got to work for it.
That's pretty sad. All right, goodbye.
All right.
I don't know. You pick great ones.
Oh,
What do you-
well, I mean, ultimately, I'm glad I'm getting my money back and I don't ever have to deal with him again. And hopefully somebody else will see this and make sure they stay away from him.
I think that's good. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Okay. Harvey?
Okay, if you go into business with a friend or a partner, Doug, here's the thing. Get it in writing, and I am saying get it specific. Every detail, the obligations, what you're entitled to, what happens if the business dissolves, everything. Put it in writing, especially if you have a relationship with the other person. That will do it for this case. Litigants for the next case on the way into the courtroom right now.
This is the plaintiff, Catherine Hinthorn. She says she rented an apartment from the defendant for over 3 years, and now that she's moved out, she can't get him to return her security deposit because the defendant's a lousy person. He has no right keeping her hard-earned money. She's not going to let him get away with stealing her money without a fight, and is here suing him for every penny of the $1,550 she's owed. This is the defendant, Peter Barber. He says this is a very simple case. The plaintiff moved out without giving him proper notice. She damaged the window screens, and business is business, so he kept her money. In fact, she shouldn't have sued him because she owes him even more money, and he's going to get it from her today in this court because what's right is right. He's accused of lousy landlording. The defendant has filed a countersuit for $360.52 for additional charges.
All parties, please raise your right hands.
Welcome back to the People's Court. Next case in the docket. The plaintiff rented an apartment from the defendant, and when she moved out, the landlord basically stole her security. But he says she didn't give notice and damaged the window screens. It's the case of just like the windows, you're a real pain.
Thank you, Douglas.
You're welcome, ma'am.
All right, Ms. Hinthorn.
Yes.
You lived in was it a house or an apartment?
A 4-family apartment.
Owned by Mr. Barber?
Correct.
Okay. And the security deposit in question is $1,550?
Correct.
Okay. How long did you live there?
3.5 years.
And then what?
Then I moved to a different house.
A different house. So tell me about the notice that you gave, because that seems to be part of the problem.
Okay, so on September 4th, I sent Peter a text saying that I would be moving out October 1st. I assumed that the 1st was a Sunday. The 2nd was Labor Day, so I figured those weren't 2 business days. So then the 3rd, we were still kind of waiting to hear from the other place if we could get in or not. So I didn't want to, go ahead and tell him earlier and then not get the other place and be, without a place to live.
Now, did you have a lease with him ever?
I had a lease for the first year.
Okay.
And then after that, it was tenant at will.
All right. So how much notice did you think that you needed to give him?
30 days. But again, I kept waiting to hear back from the other landlord.
No, I don't care why you didn't give 30 days. I care that you didn't give 30 days.
I didn't. I gave 4 days.
That's an issue. That's an issue, right? Like if there's a law that says you're supposed to give 30 days, then what happens is there's a month that you're paying rent in 2 places, or there's, a need to be let out of it by him. Mm-hmm. He gave a 1-word answer: received.
Correct.
Right? Now, spoken like a man who has been burned on this issue before. You chose your word, I was going to say words, but word very carefully. Why? Why did you type back just received?
Because you have to give a 30-day notice by law. And it's supposed to be in writing, and it's supposed to be before the 1st of the tenancy. None of those things
So you didn't want anything you said to be confused with acquiescence.
are used against me.
Used against you, and say, look, you let me out of it, so you just 1 word received. All right, so then she moves out, and then you tell her, listen, you're not going to get, how much is her rent?
Her rent at that time was $1,550.
Okay, so you tell her you're not going to get, and by the way, when did you move out?
I moved out October 1st.
Oh, well then, okay, but you were supposed to have moved out in September.
The 29th. Well, Peter did send me a text saying, Catherine, just a friendly notice, you need to be out by the 29th. I responded with...
Why the 29th?
The 30th, excuse me.
Oh,
30th.
that sounds right.
Excuse me,
Okay.
sorry. The 30th, and so I sent him a text back saying, our next place isn't ready until the 1st.
Yeah,
Can
these are
we
all
stay
you
till the
problems,
3rd?
though. Right, so why wouldn't you...
So he said yes.
I know, but then why wouldn't your security have gone to paying rent for October anyway when, 1, you didn't give 30 days notice, and 2, you didn't even leave in the right amount of time? 1 day obligates you to pay the rent.
No, I paid the last rent at the beginning.
No, you think the last rent's September, don't you? Right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's so cute. Except for that when you stay there on October 1st, the last rent is October. And since you have to give 30 days notice, when you give notice on September 4th, it should be for October 31st. You understand? That's what people do. Because that's what 30 days notice means. 30 days notice, you know what 30 days notice doesn't mean? 26 days notice.
Correct.
It doesn't. And
correct.
You know what I mean? So, all right. So now, according to you, you're actually counterclaiming.
Right.
Isn't it just good enough for you to win? No?
Well.
No, I'm not gonna browbeat you. I'm not gonna browbeat you. Tell me what the problem was. Were you stuck with a water bill?
I was stuck with a water bill and the $100 I charged her for the screens, and the difference between the security deposit, which is $14.95, and the current rent, which was $15.50.
How much did you think your security deposit was?
Originally, it was $14.95. Then when he upped the rent, he said pay the extra $55, and then it'll bring your security dollars up to $55.
Okay.
And I have a picture of the receipt of the $55 that
Oh,
I paid.
okay. I guess he forgot that. Does that sound familiar?
Yeah, but she misunderstood. It was to update the last month's rent, because at that time it was $14.95, just like the security deposit.
Because he had both the last month's rent and the security deposit, correct?
Correct.
Oh, he's right. This $55 makes the last month's rent, which you had paid years ago, to the tune of $14.95.
Correct.
This $55 brings the $14.95 to the correct rent amount, $15.50. That means then that your rent for September, because you didn't also write a check in September, did you?
Nope, September I paid when I first moved in.
When you first got in. So this is what completes your rent for September. Do you have another $55 receipt for having upped your security? Now, you follow what I'm saying, though, right? That's what I mean. Okay, that's right. That's right. All right, now can I see the water bill? You felt the water bill was high, right?
Correct. Well, what he does, the city sends him the actual statement, and then he sends me a statement, and I pay it like that.
And is the water only for you?
They're all submeted. What happens is the city of Quincy bills the landlord a total amount.
Right, but these amounts don't have anything to do with the amounts you're suing for.
I know, because hers is submeted, so I have to apportion her portion out of that total bill to her meter. I use the city of Quincy's math, for the water and the sewer.
How does a tenant ever know that you're doing it right?
The meters are downstairs. They could read the meters right off the meters in the basement.
How would I even know to read a meter?
Okay, what were your water bills normally?
Normally they were around say 180-ish.
And is that every month?
Every 3 months.
Every 3 months. Well, this isn't that far off. It's $205.
I didn't know that every other time I never saw the bill. It was just one that he made up.
Yeah, so did you go downstairs to check what your...
I don't know what to read on the meter.
All right, okay, I get it.
When the landlord says received, is he waiving his right to a 30-day notice?
No.
Okay. Going inside the courtroom.
You should have left well enough alone, sweetheart. I find that you owe the water bill, and I find that you owe the October rent, and I find for the reasons, the $55 extra of October rent, and I find for the reasons that we've previously discussed that you're not entitled to the security deposit because you didn't give 30 days notice, and there's meaning to that. And also you stayed there a day in October. I am ruling against you in your case against him, and in his case against you, I am finding in his favor in the amount of $260.52. Good luck, folks.
Thank you.
Well, in an interesting twist, the plaintiff, who was seeking more than $1,550, doesn't get anything back, and you got to pay him $260, I think.
Yeah, that is what it is. That's what the
As
judge
the judge said, you should have left it alone. You'd have been better off.
No, I don't think so.
You don't think so?
No.
Okay.
No, I could have just, proved a point that he takes money from people.
Okay. Well, Obviously, you're obligated for it, so I'm sorry. Thank you very
thank
much.
you, thank
That'll do it. You don't get anything. All right, Mr. Barber, you're going to get some money now. Were you concerned about having to pay it back?
You never know in court. Sometimes
know.
it's a Russian roulette game.
Well, congratulations, you won today.
Thank you.
It was your day. Okay?
It was my day.
Good enough. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Harvey?
So, Doug, if you sue somebody, you got to understand they can countersue you, and you can end up actually having to pay more than the deal was actually worth.